everybody, and today I want to do a brief conversation about anti-literacy laws of the South. So, what are anti-literacy laws? Why were they passed? And some important events and people. So, anti-literacy laws were laws that created, mostly in southern states, that made it illegal for blacks to receive instruction from a white person in reading or writing. Now, these laws could vastly be different based on the state. As you see here in these pictures, Virginia said, should a free Negro or their children assemble at school to learn reading or writing, any justice of the peace may dismiss the school. Louisiana, the first offense was $500. The second offense could be death. And in North Carolina, only could a person give an oral lesson, and a person could be punished for up to 39 lashes or imprisoned if the offender be a free Negro. If they were white, they could be fined up to $200. Now, why were these laws created? And this has something to do with the fear that freed blacks and slaves would become literate enough to understand that slavery and the treatment of blacks was immoral and wrong. So they made these laws so that the freed blacks and the slaves would not learn how to basically think for themselves. And what led up to these laws? That would be because of Nat Turner Rebellion. This rebellion was led by Nat Turner. He was born in 1800, and he would be the leader of the rebellion that would take place on August 22nd in 1831. His rebellion would begin on his own plantation, where he would kill his master, the master's wife, and his children. They would later, with another 70 so freed blacks and slaves, go to 15 other homes in Virginia to also, unfortunately, they would kill about another 60 white people. Now, this is where the rebellion takes a bad turn for Nat Turner and the rest of the freed blacks and slaves. They were supposed to gain backup from other slaves and freed blacks, but they would never show up. And because of this, Turner would later go on the run, and he would be captured on October 30th in 1831. He would then be tried on November 5th of 1831, and he would be hanged on November 11th in 1831. And this rebellion would later cause the anti-literacy laws to be passed in almost all of the states in the South because of the fear that the slaves would become literate. Now, after Nat Turner's rebellion and anti-literacy laws have come into effect, a woman by the name of Margaret Douglas would move from South Carolina to Norfolk, Virginia, and she would open a school on the second floor of her house where she would teach freed black children how to read and write. Now, Margaret did this thinking that she was not breaking a law because she believed that the anti-literacy laws only applied to slaves. But in fact, that wasn't true. So Margaret would instruct about 25 students inside of her home for about 11 months. She would then later be questioned, and she immediately shut her school down when she learned that she was breaking the law. It would take them another 2 months before she would be summoned by the mayor of Norfolk. And in this case, she would receive full 6 months and the full $100 fine that was part of the Virginia anti-literacy law. Now, Margaret Douglas would be the only known and the first prosecution of the anti-literacy laws in Virginia, and to this day, we don't really know if anybody else was actually prosecuted or accused of doing these things, but Margaret would be known in books as being prosecuted. We all know that slavery would later on end, and with that, anti-literacy laws would also end. And during the Restoration period, post-Civil War and Antebellum, freed slaves and freed blacks would later become literate as they would open schools that would allow them to learn how to read and write and also gain an education in different fields to help them accumulate acclimate to society. And that is my brief little topic on anti-literacy laws, and I hope this gets you thinking about what other things and laws were passed during antebellum times and pre-Civil War and pre-slavery abolishment, and see where that takes you later in some of your research. I hope everybody enjoyed. Thank you.